It is more profitable to trade than to fight, even if it is a war with an enemy of the human race. He is only interested in your soul, but in return you can ask for anything. At first glance, the deal is favorable. All the pleasures of life are exchanged for something ephemeral, which must be given back very soon. After all, people sell their organs and contract soldiers sacrifice their lives for money. There are no pitfalls in a deal with the devil. The one who makes it understands perfectly well that sooner or later his soul will be taken to hell. So why is temporary bliss so willingly exchanged for eternal torment? Where did the pact with the devil come from? Who invented it? After all, the Bible does not say a word about it. There is the serpent, who deceived Eve with apples. There is the devil, tempting Jesus with the possibility of becoming king of the whole earth in exchange for worshiping himself. But nowhere is it written that the devil goes around the world with a package of documents to sign, keeps accounts of the services rendered, and inventories the souls purchased. A deal with the devil is an invention of medieval folklore, unofficially supported by the Church. The hagiography of St. Theophilus of Antioch is considered the earliest mention of such a relationship. He was once offered the post of bishop, but the Holy Father turned it down out of humility. Another priest, elected to this position, saw Theophilus as a dangerous rival and began to oppress him in every possible way. Putting aside his former humility, the famous theologian turned to a magician, asking him to arrange a meeting with Satan. The devil allegedly offered Theophilus a deal. He renounced Jesus and the Mother of God, and the unclean one secured the post of bishop. He had to sign the agreement with his own blood. The deal was fulfilled, but soon Theophilus began to feel remorse. He prayed and fasted for 40 days, after which the Virgin Mary appeared to him, promising to intercede for him before God. After another 30 days of fasting, Theophilus again saw the Mother of God, this time absolving him of all his sins. But the devil did not want to retreat and gave Theophilus a copy of the contract as a reminder of his obligations. Theophilus, not thinking long, took it to the former bishop, whose place he had taken, and repented of everything. But the bishop did something radical. He burned the agreement, thus annulling it. The story of Theophilus became the foundation for legends about summoning the devil in general and selling one's soul to him in particular. It follows that in the 6th century AD, communicating with the devil by means of sorcery was not considered a special sin. Theophilus felt sorry for his soul, and he canceled the contract with the help of simple repentance. History is silent whether he remained a bishop. Subsequently, theologians, as they say, turned the screws, recognizing witchcraft and invocation of the devil as a terrible sin. In other words, any negotiations with the enemy became considered treason. Since any sorcery was considered devilish, and a good man could not sorcery, the magician undoubtedly received his gift from the devil. At first, it was assumed that the ability to conjure was given for free, only if the magician did more harm to Christianity. However, the idea of getting superpowers with impunity was too tempting, so with the development of Christian folklore, more and more often began to sound thoughts that this deal is not self-serving. Moreover, the circle of potential clients of the devil was too wide at first. In the early Middle Ages, literally anyone could make a deal with him, and it did not entail any deterioration of his social status. Therefore, already by the 14th century, between selling one's soul to the devil and witchcraft was equated. Previously, a sorcerer was thought to be a highly educated man who used ancient rituals. The treatise Formicarius, written by the Dominican friar Johannes Nieder, was the first church document to state that all it took to practice witchcraft was to sell oneself to Satan, and that it was mostly women who practiced it. Now it seems strange, but in those distant times people were very fond of mystical formalities. A deal with the devil was much more complicated than, for example, with a child tooth fairy, who only needed a milk tooth under the pillow, exchanged for a coin. If we believe the same treatise Formicarius, people turn to the devil on their own very rarely. Usually they were seduced into it by other people's examples, successful fallen citizens who caused envy and easily gave useful advice on black magic. Indeed, in the 15th century, it was commonly thought that one could not sell one's soul to the devil on the spur of the moment, and one had to prepare for this procedure thoroughly. One had to go to church early Sunday morning and renounce God there. One had to pray regularly to the devil, follow a certain lifestyle, diets, sacrifices, curses, and drink the blood of babies. At the same time, it was necessary to clearly express the will to make a deal with the devil and voice its conditions: wealth, youth, magic in exchange for dragging the soul to hell after a certain number of years, depending on the nature of the requested benefits. At the same time, nature itself would oppose such a deal. The human soul would be consumed by the fire of passions, and he would be written in the Red Book of Death. There was another, more formalized way, presumably replace the exclusive deals with Satan himself, mass contracts with ordinary demons. It was necessary to get a piece of virgin parchment from the first calf born to a cow, and write in his own blood, "I promise the great demon to repay in 7 years for everything he will do for me." The signature was also applied blood, which should be taken from the left hand. However, many demonologists believe that the contract should be written in a special ink made of iron sulfate, alum, ink nuts, and gum arabic. After that, it was necessary to draw a magic circle, stand in its center, and recite a rather long spell, the meaning of which consisted in a high-pitched appeal to Lucifer, Beelzebub, and Astaroth, as well as in mentioning key words from the Great Key of Solomon. When the demon appeared, the contract was to be tossed gently into its clutches, never leaving the confines of the circle. Inquisitors also provided for the possibility of a verbal contract with the devil. It was believed that even the verbal sale of the soul left a trace on the person, the devil's mark. As we know from the history of witch persecution, these were considered to be unusually large moles, strange scratches, extra nipples, or places on the body, from which after a needle prick does not bleed, or places where a person did not feel pain. The devil's seal could be placed in a secret place, under the eyelids, among the hair, or in the natural recesses of the body. It is logical that witches were investigated especially carefully, paying attention to their children, because one of the ways to seal a pact with the devil, as the Hammer of Witches points out, was sexual intercourse with him. Later, demonologists began to teach that the contract can be formalized as desired, and the opposing party in it can be a whole group of demons. The latter should leave on the paper seals and signatures, made in the manner of anagrams to hide their true names. For example, in the case of the Reverend Urban Grandier, burned on the accusation of the nuns Ursuline in that he put demons on them, the text of the contract was written backwards in Latin with missing vowels, and the scroll was signed, in addition to Lucifer, 3 more demons. Trade souls with the devil was complicated by the fact that the medieval occultists distinguished months, days, and even hours in which certain demons were the most powerful. To conclude a contract with them was required at this time. Demons also divided by professional signs. A man who wanted youth and a man who wanted money should have turned to different devils. Selling your soul is a hackneyed topic, isn't it? It is extremely difficult to do something new in it. Everything was invented 500 years ago. The deal is obviously a losing one, so the authors have only to compose new terms of the contract and new tricks aimed at their non-fulfillment by both parties. However, in most cases, the deal with the devil remains a symbol of human greed, short-sightedness, and stupidity.